Welcome back to Inside City Hall. In a diverse number of neighborhoods all around the city, the last few years have sparked an ongoing conversation about gentrification and development and how block by block our city is being transformed right before our eyes. Tonight we're focusing on Astoria, especially a 9-acre section of the neighborhood on the East River. That is the site of a proposed development named Astoria Cove. A hearing is being held on that project in the City Council on Monday. Our Queens reporter Rochelle Boone took a closer look at the project. Here's what she found.
These industrial warehouses could eventually become luxury apartments if 2030 Astoria developers get the green light on their Astoria Cove project. But many residents are fighting the plan to build a 1,700-unit apartment complex on the East River by 26th Avenue. The project would include a school, retail space, and a waterfront esplanade.
It's all about the rich people. That's all it's for. I mean, nobody in the neighborhood could afford anything like that.
Under the proposed plan, 20% of the apartments, or about 345 of them, would be designated affordable.
I think there should be more affordable housing if we want the truth.
There is a long list of other concerns as well, from the way the project would change the landscape to its effect on the transportation in the area. Some also fear Astoria could eventually experience many of the same issues the neighboring Long Island City is currently facing, where new buildings are high and rents are expensive. The community board, borough president, and other local leaders say they won't support the project without changes.
There's a question as to whether we should have lower incomes allowed as well, and also to expand the amount of affordable units that are given. But I was not convinced when it came before me at Borough Hall that everything was the best it actually could be for the Borough of Queens.
The development group, which includes Alma Realty, did not return our calls for comment, but the City Council will have the final say on the project. In Astoria, Rochelle Boone for Inside City Hall.
We have assembled a special roundtable to talk more about this project. City Councilman Costa Constantinides represents Astoria. He's a lifelong resident of the area. Roland Lewis is president and CEO of the Metropolitan Waterfront Alliance, an association of more than 700 groups dedicated to making the waters of New York and New Jersey clean and accessible. And Ferrari is editor-in-chief of the Queens Tribune. Welcome to all of you. Thanks for coming in. And let me start with you, Councilman. The borough president has heard doubts. The local community board said they don't want the project as presented. Where are you on this? I know you're not in charge of the City Council, but we also know the council gives great deference to the member when a land use project like this comes up. What do you think?
Well, first, Errol, thank you for having me on today. Great to be here with you. I think if done right, we have a lot of opportunities with this project, but as currently constructed, I have some real concerns. As you brought up, the borough president has said no. The community board has said no, with reservations. And the reservations are, what does 21st century development looks like? How are we want development, we want responsible development. We want to make sure that the affordable units that are set aside as part of this project are not $2,700 a month for a 1-bedroom or close to $4,000 for a 3-bedroom. That there's real transportation on and off the Howard's Cove Peninsula, that there are good jobs created, and that there is a nexus between the surrounding community with this development, that it's not a castle with a moat around it.
Well, I mean, but that particular figure, $2,700 for a 1-bedroom, which would be part of the subsidized, quote unquote, affordable units in this development, that's gotten a lot of ink, it's gotten a lot of press attention. I mean, how low would it have to be? Because you could set the rent anywhere, and there'll be people saying, "Hey, that's not affordable. $1,100 isn't affordable. $1,500 isn't affordable." Right?
There is the average median income of our district is about $56,000 a year. So we need to make sure that affordable housing really is for our neighborhood. That anyone who lives in Astoria can look at that development and say, we have an opportunity to live there, that it's part of our community, that's integrated into our neighborhood, and not that they feel that before the buildings even go up, that they're locked out.
And now, Ferrari, the community board doesn't like it, the borough president doesn't like it, the council member has some reservations, but the city planning commission green-lighted it. Right. They seem to like it, and this is the progressive administration on the other side of City Hall.
Not only that, but the mayor expressed his support for the project too, and they're very much, and I believe he's happy with the mandatory affordable housing that would come with the project. But what you're seeing is the question of what is affordable housing and how affordable is that housing. And as the councilman was saying, $2,700 for a 1-bedroom, even if that's on the high end of even at the low end of what they're offering, it's unaffordable. You know, back when Mayor de Blasio was running, he was asked, what is affordable housing? You know, what's an affordable rent? And he said $1,500 to $2,000.
Right.
And you know, the median rent in Astoria, I was looking at the Furman Center's report from 2012, is $1,300. That's up $300 from 2000.
And median means half above, half below.
Right.
So that's where rents are now, and so this would more than double that, I guess, is the concern or the fear. On the other hand, though, you've got a lot of different things that are going on here, right? I mean, I know that the unions are in favor of the project, or some of the unions are in favor of the project, because that expensive housing that's getting built, well, part of the expense is paying their wages, right?
Right. You get a lot of developers who say they can't do affordable housing. We had a meeting with some developers going through Queens, and they were this past week, and they were asked right off the bat, you know, can you do affordable housing and still make a profit? They answered no. They can't do it.
In this particular case, though, isn't the developer not looking for a lot of public subsidy? Isn't that part of the attraction to this administration? That they're saying they'll do 80-20 without a lot of subsidy. They can do more, but the city's going to have to pay for it.
Well, I think we have to define what a subsidy actually is. I mean, we're looking for a change in the law. You know, right now it's zoned to be light manufacturing. By making this zoning change, there is going to be an opportunity for a bulk bonus as well, that they're able to build 1,700 units of housing. So we have to make sure we have a good deal. 21st century development should include ample affordable housing. It needs to be affordable for everyone, because I know $2,700 a month is not affordable for anyone who's watching this show on the most part, but it's a real challenge.
I won't ask you to negotiate the whole thing right here, but I mean, do you think it's so far out of line that you'd rather have no project than the project as presented?
I think that right now I'm working with the developer, we're working with the stakeholders involved, we're going to continue to negotiate, we're going to have this hearing on Monday, and we're going to go through the process. And I'm not going to say yes until we get the best deal for our neighborhood.
Roland Lewis, how would this affect the waterfront? I know you've got a sort of a big vision of getting New Yorkers back to the waterfront, and this esplanade sounds very promising. Would it be public? Would there be public access?
There would be access. Let me chime in now a little about the affordability, because we want to open waterfront that's accessible for everybody. We don't want a Gold Coast that is only the precious resource of our waterfront only for people of great wealth. So affordability is an important, and as old Habitat for Humanity, I ran that for a number of years in New York. I'm very, very sensitive to the question of affordability. But the Esplanade's a good start, but it's not where we want to end up. We want to have ferry service for this for Hallett's Cove.
Yeah.
You have there's another large development going on right next door to it. That's a few thousand units. But let's not forget that there's the Astoria houses, the Ravenswood houses, and lots of other homes out there that suffer through a mile-plus walk to get to the subway. Ferry service is a way to ameliorate that and get people to work easier. And then also, you have protected water there. You have the opportunity for historic educational boats if you build the proper docking facility. So getting into the water, doing environmental programming at the water's edge, doing a great restoration that would bring this piece of precious water back to what it once was. There's a great opportunity there, certainly on the land to do that development right, but also within the water at Hallett's Cove itself.
Well, right at the water line, do you have to to ensure that it's accessible to the public and not a Gold Coast, do you have to turn it over to the Parks Department? Do you have to sort of make some of the waterfront public?
You should. Yeah, the Parks Department can control part of it. The City of New York can. There can be easements. I mean, the NYCHA controls a big portion of it nearby. So that's the challenge, and also the opportunity with our waterfronts. It's a utility that we all depend on for access, for resiliency. But it's owned and controlled by hundreds, sometimes thousands of different stakeholders. So getting those folks, whether it's the City of New York or a private developer, to open up their property for ferry transit, for an esplanade, for kayaking, for waterborne, for fun on the water is the challenge. But that's some of the community benefits that should be negotiated with this developer and others that want to build on the waterfront.
For everybody, I mean, is the mere fact that this proposal is on the table, that these numbers are being thrown around, has that sort of broken the spell? I mean, does that put this neighborhood in play regardless of what happens to this development?
Well, I think that our neighborhood is growing, and as we know with former Mayor Bloomberg's 2030 plan, we know that we're going to have over 1 million New Yorkers that come in to our city, and it's how we build the infrastructure around that to deal with the growth of our communities. Growth is a good thing as long as it's responsible, as long as we have the infrastructure in place to get that done. I think Ferry and creating new ways of interlocking with one another in the city. We were looking towards a technology corridor, the Cornell Technion Center coming online very, very soon. Well, ferry service would be part of the component to link us to additional arts, link us to the Cornell Center, link people to Manhattan, create a more interconnectedness as we try to diversify our cities and create that tech base.
The city really needs to use this as an opportunity to expand on that infrastructure. If you have with all these people coming in, you're going to need these new housing units, and you're going to need to have more affordable housing units for these people to be able to pay to live in there. So if you're going to build, if you're going to have these people, use that as the reason. All right, we've got all of this stuff now. We need to expand the infrastructure. We need to improve the train lines going to and from Astoria. We need to create ferry service that can take everything to Manhattan and back. If this is going to happen, and hopefully, we'll see next week where things are, and then next month we'll have the vote for the City Council on whether or not they approve the Astoria Cove. But I don't think it's going to go away. One way or another, I think eventually we're going to have a development in that area of new housing. It's just a matter of...
Okay, that is going to have to be the last word. We're going to continue this discussion in the council chambers on Monday and long after. Thank you all so much for getting us started on a conversation that goes, of course, beyond just this neighborhood. We're going to take a short break now, and straight ahead, the 4 members of our Friday Reporters Roundtable will weigh in on Governor Cuomo's trip to the Caribbean and ask whether it will do anything to help his bid for re-election. Stay with us.